All right, what's up, my dudes? So I'm pretty deep into a sketch practice today, but I just wanted to share some quick tip, little thought thing that I was just playing around with in my brain while I'm sketching, because I'm deep into the practice today and I've done, I don't know, a couple of hours of sketching at this point. My brain is finally warmed up to opening up to new concepts instead of feeling like I'm frustrated that I can't get my pencil to move correctly. I'm sure everyone out there can relate to that feeling at some point in time. So I'm doing some anatomical stuff today. I'm just looking at this very dry, no no shade thrown on purpose, but like this is meant for anatomical study. It's not meant for artistic interpretation. I'm looking at this medical chart of muscle and bone and fascia and ligament and tendon, and I'm just working off of it and doing my écorché skinless figure study. And so, you know, a lot of times when we're learning this stuff, it gets pretty complicated to figure out how to understand the origin and insertion of each muscle, right? Like, where is it? What does it do? You know, how big is it? How strong is it? How do you make it flex? How do you make it stand still? And I think one of the funnest things that I started to do recently, let me see if I can do this with something right here. Let's take like the thigh. Let's take like a thigh. So if I mass in a thigh and I make the thigh just, it's in this general area, kind of like if we blur our eyes and look at a leg, it's in this general area, so I can lightly draw this in. Everyone's familiar with this stuff. So let's just say, you know, thickest part of the thigh is here, and then somewhere down here there's a knee, and then there's the lower leg. Let's just say that generally represents a thigh, and it's going to be fairly thick, right, and bulbous here. And then we want to break it up into parts. So one of the funnest things that I started to do with my style is, once I feel that, if I know that I'm gonna dig in on the inside, I probably don't want to separate the inside as much as I'm separating the figure itself from the background. And what can we do besides draw a decent contour? I know that seems ridiculously simple, but by doing this with the charcoal, I can automatically get and skip several steps to getting some of this anatomy to work and jump right into what we might call a finish of a leg. So if you need to get to the point of having a figure that looks like a massive, in the most literal sense, a massive figure, like it looks like it has mass. Like, look at these Bruce Timm things that are amazing, right? So simple, but they read as figures. That's the beauty of that. We can get the generic structure and area and then run right to the contour. And then I like to just start putting, you know, a mid-tone around that just by smudging that in. So that's my quick tip. That's number one. And then number two, if you're gonna dig into the anatomy, you put the bones, the bony protrusion structures in. So let's just say that we got a knee down here. I'll just make the most simple cappy, you know, it looks like a cap, like a soda cap. I'll just make a simple cappy knee, and I'm gonna start to draw the VMO, the vastus medialis. And I don't know where the VMO is. I'm just gonna say that it's generally gonna go into the knee, right? I'm gonna look at this. Okay, the VMO is like here. I'm just gonna make an S, and I'm gonna have it run off into infinity. I'm gonna pretend that this ribbon of a VMO, I'm not gonna try to even follow this. Let's just say that I peeled it off like this. What if I just did that with it? In my mind, I start to do this, like all these little things where I'm putting anatomy in. Sometimes I go, well, what if I just made it like a lot bigger and S'd it back? Does it have to look exactly like this? No, but I'm going to go in that general direction, and I'm going to draw several lines, and then I'm going to decide on the line. And what I like to do after getting all that in, I'll come back to the contour, and I'll move that around so that it's roughly where I want it to be. And then I will make sure that this middle separation, let's just blend all that in, and we'll come back to the contour. I just want to make sure that the middle is not as dark so that I can create some detail to jump into. So we're coming around like this, but now because we have this detail, we have this popping up and dropping down and then popping up again. And now I can follow that back. So now I'm digging back this way, and I'm creating that adductor longus, right? Is that adductor longus, am I right? Gracilis somewhere in there. Adductor magnus, sure. All that stuff grouped together. Don't quote me. But here's my point, right? All we started off was with the mass. Once we got the mass right, and like, you know where the knee is going, you dig into that contour, right? Just like, for me, I was very timid to start to do that early on. And I wish that I had known, just make one confident stroke. After you get Steve Houston likes to call it lots of lines. Brilliant idea. Lots of lines. It's a journey of discovery thing. And then you pick one, and it's like, this is the path that I'm going down around the figure. And then for me, with my style, I tend to do this. This is why I like charcoal so much, because I can fiddle it around like this. And I have to thank Steve particularly for allowing me to play in that way, because I just thought I was totally wrong for smudging charcoal. I thought I was supposed to have the perfect line before I put it down. And if it wasn't the perfect line, I had to keep working it. So anyway, just want to share that quick tip. One, the contour is, I think, one of the easiest ways to dig in. And that's why a lot of old comic book drawing used to rely heavily on contour with inking to show the figure. So you're separating the figure from the background more than you're separating the inside. Because I think a lot of times what can happen with our anatomical study inherently is we'll get a lot of lines, but like this guy right here, it's all smudged out, and some of this stuff is in focus, and I can still represent the outside of his head with some wobbly lines, and I'll bring it in later. But the idea is that it's, even though it's not in focus, he's still separated, or she is still separated from the background more than the inside is separated from itself. So that's my quick tip. Hope that makes sense. Ask me questions. If that doesn't make sense, let me know in the comments. And I'll make more of these little things, and also way more ranting videos, because boy, is this stuff going to take me forever to unpack. All right. Have fun drawing. Later.